Hey, Walt, how's it going, man? I appreciate the time today. And here we are, fight week. Everything that you've been through in the past couple of months, the pandemic that's going on. Now that you're here, ahead of the biggest fight of your life, can you put into words what the emotions are coming into this one?
Excitement, man. I think it's been a long time coming. This is a fight I've been looking forward to for, I mean, honestly, since I was an amateur. I've watched Overeem before I ever started fighting. So to get in there and be in the same conversation with him is something that I've always worked for and worked towards. So Saturday night, I'm going in there to put on a show for the world, man. We're the only sport, so it's gonna be fun. I can't wait.
And I know adversity is nothing new for you. You've had to kind of deal with a lot of issues throughout your whole career. But looking back on this camp, do you feel like the adversity that you encountered, you were able to overcome, and you're feeling pretty confident about the product you're going to put out on Saturday?
Oh, for sure. My confidence is at an all-time high. Like you alluded to, I mean, the adversity that I've gone through in my life, fighting is just a fight. You know what I mean? I faced something that, no father should ever have to face. So I feel like, fighting is just something that I'm doing and I'm good at, and then I put my heart into. So I'm gonna go in there and perform and do what I do best, man, and let the chips fall where they may.
Right now in the heavyweight division, it's kind of an interesting time. It seems like there's a lot of contenders at the top. There's a little bit of a logjam. With the win over Overeem, where do you think that puts you in the division? Do you feel like you're going to be in that conversation for either one or one fight away from a title, or kind of in that conversation?
I see it being one fight away. But I always prided myself on being a company man. So if the UFC wants me to step up and take an interim title, I would definitely do it. I feel like mentally in this space where I'm at in my career, I'm so ready for whatever, and I'm prepared to fight whoever the division has to offer or whoever the UFC has to offer. I feel like I'm a bad matchup for all of those guys, and I match up well with all those guys. So, I think it's my time to shine, and Saturday night I plan on proving that.
My last question for you, Alistair Overeem's a guy that's been around for a long time. We've seen him come out in fights and give a lot of different looks. What are you expecting to see out of him come Saturday, and what should fans expect to see out of you?
I think from him, I'm going to see a guy who's going to try to grind me, push me against the cage, grapple, drag the fight to the deep rounds, and try to hang on. With me, you're going to see the same me, explosive, athletic, but with a renewed vigor. My focus has been laser sharp, since the tragedy. I'm fighting for a different purpose. And my daughter is with me everywhere I go. So when you got something like that pushing you, man, right now at this point in my career, I feel like I can run through a brick wall. So he's going to be facing a dangerous man on Saturday night for sure.
Appreciate the time, man. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we'll go to James Lynch from The Score. James, go ahead.
Hey, Walt, Nolan touched there on sort of everything you got going into this fight. How much are you feeding off the support you've had over the last few months, not just from the MMA community, but from everyone in general?
Oh, man, it's everything, bro. It gets me out of bed in the morning, to be honest. So many people have done so many things for myself and my family. It's just, it's overwhelming at times. I'm so grateful. I'm so thankful for, everybody from everybody at the UFC to my neighbors, my community. My community has been amazing. And that's something that is, like I said, it makes for a dangerous fighter when you realize that so many people love you and are concerned about you and your family. It gives you more to fight for. It gives you more energy and training. It gives you more focus, and so that's where I'm at with it, man. I'm just excited. Can't wait.
And we spoke to Eric Anders earlier. This is the first time you guys have fought on a card together, I think, since he was an amateur. What does it mean to be a part of this big card, be the main event, and also have Eric there right with you?
Man, it's special, man. I remember the first day of camp, I told him, I said, bro, it's about to be an awesome camp, because we're always kind of either I'm fighting before him or he's fighting after me. And so we kind of like hit and miss each other during camp, but we spent every day together. And, we've always been close. So it's really special to be able to fight on a card with him and be the headliner. It's something that I've always dreamed of being, in the UFC, being a headliner, being a main event. And to have my little brother on the card with me is extra motivation because that dude works so hard, So he pushes me, and it's just I got to prove something to him too. So I want to make him proud as well.
And both of you spent some time at Extreme Couture earlier this year. How much of a benefit was that heading into a big fight like this?
Oh man, it's dope. Coach Eric Nixie is just he's my boy. So when we go out there, it's all love. It's it's just like being at home. It's just with a bunch more guys who got the same mindset and the same motivation as you. So when we are in Vegas, we're working 110%. Just like we're at home, man. It's just it's awesome. It's really good.
It's highly unlikely this fight goes the distance. I think there's going to be a finish here. If you do get that knockout victory, and Nolan sort of touched on it there, do you feel like that puts you in the title picture right now, or at least close to it, just because that would be 5-fight unbeaten streak for you right now?
Yeah, I definitely feel like a win over Overeem is going to thrust me in the conversation for sure. I think people have been clamoring for it. There's certain people that my name gets tossed around on social media and different outlets with. So I think I'm at that time now. It's time to make those fights happen. So a win over Overeem definitely puts me in the conversation.
2 quick ones for me. How much are you missing hockey right now?
Bro, James, bro, I'm sick right now, man. The last hockey game I went to was in DC, and I had a blast. I got to meet Ovechkin, and it was just like the highlight of my life, man. So I'm struggling right now. I've been watching a lot of old games, a lot of old Penguins games.
That's cool. What was it like meeting Ovechkin? Did he give you any advice or anything? I mean, we're talking about a Stanley Cup champion here.
Yeah, I mean, he just kind of like I'm gonna be honest, I'm gonna be candid right now. My knees buckled when he walked in. I was turned around. I was talking to Tom. What's his name? I forget. I'm sorry, but I was talking to him. We were hanging out in the locker room. He was showing me all the lockers and stuff like that. And Ovechkin walked up and tapped me on my shoulder with a jersey with my name on it. And bro, my knees buckled. I was like, oh my God, like I freaked out. He thought it was super dope because I knew who he was. I was telling him about all these different games. We just kind of chopped it up, talked hockey, and it was pretty cool, man. I got to meet all of them. Nicholas Backstrom, everybody, man. It was dope.
And last question, that TikTok video with you and Eric Anders playing Rock'em Sock'em, how much money did you win from him?
I think I hit for like $250.
Excellent. That's good, Walt. Enjoy ya.
Of course, I didn't keep any of that. That was all prop money. That was like a little pot everybody threw at somebody. I didn't get to keep it.
Best of luck on Saturday, Walt. Thanks for the time.
Thanks, James.
Next, we'll go to Damon Martin from MMA Fighting. Damon, go ahead.
And Dana White talked about it yesterday about the emotion going into a fight like this. The entire world is kind of behind you going into this fight for obvious reasons. But how do you balance that emotion? Because at the end of the day, this is a fight. I mean, you got to go out and fight one of the greatest heavyweights of all time. Like, how do you balance that in your head?
I'm a pretty even keel guy. I've been competing my whole life. When it comes to athletics, it's just something that I do. I have a switch. I know how to control those emotions based on the fact that like you said, it's a fight. And I alluded to it earlier. I've been through so much in my life that I prepared for this. This is what I'm here to do. So I'll be 110% focused. And I think the no crowd actually is a benefit in this situation because there's no outside distractions. Especially this week, I've been kind of isolated. I've been with my team, and we just been focusing on making sure I'm primed and ready for Saturday night.
You mentioned it in terms of like the entire world kind of feels behind you, and you felt that over these past few months. What has that meant to you to kind of? I mean, you've always been a fan favorite guy, anyways, in your career, but just because obviously stylistically you have a very fan favorite style, but the support you've been showing going in this fight, what has that meant to you?
It means everything, man. It's overwhelming to think that so many people are sharing their love, whether it be through social media text or phone text or people popping and stopping by the house with gifts or food and things like that, man. It means so much to know that people are behind you and that they're proud of you and that they're supporting you. It gives you incentive that you're doing the right things and incentive to keep doing the right things and be a role model.
You mentioned it earlier, Overeem, we know him as a very dominant striker in his own right, but we have seen him grind guys out. He was doing it very well to Jairzinho Rozenstruik before he got caught in that 5th round. Mm-hmm. Obviously, you've got a ton of first-round finishes, but how confident are you going into those deeper rounds? This does go into round 4 and 5.
Oh, super confident. My coach, Chris Conley, has put me through the ringer this camp. He's made sure I'm prepared in every facet of the game. We've worked every angle, every aspect. We've dissected every way that we feel like Overeem has any kind of advantages, and we've gone in and made sure I'm on point, and I'm sharp as I've ever been, man. Like, it's insane. Like, I get excited in the workouts because I'm just like, man, I can feel a different type of energy surrounding, not only the fight, but just my overall being, man. I feel like I'm 24 again, you know what I mean? It's crazy. So, I'm prepared to go wherever the fight goes, bro, wherever it goes.
And last question, you mentioned to me a couple weeks ago that one of your dream fights in the future would be to throw hands with a guy like Francis Ngannou, a guy I know you have a lot of respect for. You train with him. Obviously, seeing what Francis did this past weekend, he's kind of stuck in a situation now where he doesn't have an opponent. We don't know when the title fight's coming. I think I saw you on Instagram saying you would love to see him and Jones fight, but in a good scenario, like you win this weekend, is that a fight you would like to pursue?
For sure. I mean, it's inevitable. I mean, Francis is at the top of the division. He's right there. So, I mean, we're gonna have to lock horns at some point. And like I said, I feel like I match up with everybody in this division very well. So if that's what the UFC wants and needs, then that's what's gonna happen, and I'll be 110% prepared for it.
Thanks, Walt.
Thank you.
Next, we'll go to Jay Anderson with Cage Side Press. Jay, go ahead.
Thanks very much, Walt, and welcome back. Condolences, obviously. Congratulations on the return. Was there a moment sort of in your head at some point that said, you know what, I've got to get back. I've got to get back to fighting?
Yeah, I went through a dark period, as you probably could already imagine, and it just I felt myself slipping the opposite direction of what I set out to be as a man and as a father. And I just had a talk with my wife one day, and she was like, you know what, why don't you start back training and try to get your mind off of it? Because there was a point, honestly, where I felt like thinking of anything but my daughter was wrong. I battled that so hard. I was like, if I go back to fighting, am I not thinking of her? Am I not doing the right thing by her? But, I prayed about it, and I could hear her tell me, Daddy, I want you to go back. I want you to fight. This is what, we worked so hard. I sacrificed so much. Mom sacrificed so much. You sacrificed so much. To get to where you are, and I would be more upset with you if you stopped fighting. And that's when I went back in the gym and I started focusing on getting back in shape. And I just kind of put a goal out there of when I wanted to fight, just to kind of give myself some incentive, some motivation outside of what I already had. And I kind of told the UFC March or April. And then we went from there, man. And I just started focusing like I was about to fight in March. And I started training my butt off every day. And then, fights fell through, pandemic happened, and I just kept training. And I kept going. And, we got this fight. So, I'm grateful and I'm ready, man.
And, you talked about, almost thinking that not thinking or doing anything other than thinking about her was wrong. But, I mean, you're still obviously keeping her memory alive, and you've worked on Anaya's Law, and I'm wondering if you could just speak a little about that movement and where that stands.
So, I mean, of course, with the pandemic, we hit a bit of a snag, but we were working on a law called Anaya's Law, which would make sure violent offenders aren't allowed bond. And it's a bipartisan effort in the state. I mean, both sides came together like that. This bill flew through the judicial system so fast that it was kind of overwhelming to watch. I went to all the meetings and I met all the lawmakers and kind of got to see how the process worked. And we were very close to getting the bill passed and going to Senate, but then the pandemic happened. So what's going to happen when everything opens back up and everything clears back up, they're going to reintroduce the bill. I think it's going to go through the same process pretty quickly. And then hopefully we'll have the law before 2020 is over, and other states will grab it and enact it as well to protect people, so that's where we are with that.
All right, that's a fantastic effort. And just one more for me. What's this fight week been like for you mentally coming back from something like that? And then just as well with the pandemic and, you don't have the fans there and the same activities you might normally.
It's been great, honestly. I mean, I got my squad here, man. We're pretty deep. We're about 9 deep. All my closest brothers that I train with and I grind with every day. So it's pretty routine outside of the fact that, there's not a lot of people, which is actually probably a really good thing in my case. So, we just been kind of doing what we normally do, training, working, having fun, cutting up, laughing, and, keeping the same fight week demeanor that we always do that's led us to be successful to this point. So, nothing's really changed, All
right, well, best of luck this Saturday. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Next, we'll take Shaquille from MMA Mania. Shaquille, go ahead.
Walt, my sincerest condolences. Thanks for making the time today, man.
Thank you.
You were talking about passing that bill. What does it mean to you and your family to think that, should it get through and get adopted by the other states, this tragic situation could have a long-term, in your eyes, beneficial impact on the entire country?
It mean a lot, man. It'd be the first big step into keeping our daughter's name alive, and what she stood for alive. We're working on so many different things in her honor, but the bill will be the capstone, for everything. It mean protecting people. That's just ultimately what our society should be based on. We should feel protected and not be afraid to live freely. And I think that especially in females' cases, I think they need to be protected and have understanding of how to be safe. And so we're working on a lot of different things in that arena to make sure other people don't face the tragedy and the devastation that we faced.
And last thing on your daughter, the preliminary hearing got pushed back a couple times, and now with the COVID pandemic, how frustrating has that part been? And do you think it's going to go through on June 3rd at this rate?
I'm praying and staying hopeful that it will. It's been super stressful, just to kind of have justice delayed this way. But, I'm a firm believer that God does everything for a reason. And there's a silver lining in this. He ain't going anywhere. So we just have to, wait it out and stay diligent and just keep making sure we're staying focused on keeping her in the forefront. That's just mainly what me and my wife are focusing on, and our team back home is just making sure we're doing all the things we need to do as parents on our end to make sure, people don't forget about her.
Thank you for your candor. To talk about the fight a little bit, there's this idea with heavyweights, especially the older heavyweights, Overeem, Arlovsky, they get quote unquote chinny, they're washed, they can't handle it. And then, Arlovsky comes back and wins. Overeem wins 24 minutes and 59 seconds of his last fight. What do you think is the biggest misconception that people have about the heavyweight division?
I don't know, man. I think that, people think that we don't work hard or, we're lazy or whatever the case may be. But, we're heavies. I mean, we're big guys, so everything's not going to look like the small guys all the time. It's not going to be a firefight, And then, those guys that you mentioned are savvy veterans, so they understand how to get to certain points in fights and win fights and try to get to what they do best. So you got to be prepared for that, and I think I am prepared for that. Come Saturday night, we'll be ready.
And the last thing for you, the crowdless ambience has had an interesting impact on the last couple of events, whether it's Daniel Cormier accidentally giving out instructions to fighters, or maybe Anthony Smith's corner giving too much advice, or someone like Eubanks who was actually talking trash to her opponent's corner mid-fight. How do you expect to make the most of this new environment?
I'm just gonna soak it all in, man, and just find that peace in it. You know what I mean? I think that when you take the negatives out of things and accentuate the positive, that's when you shine. So that's just always been my mentality. It's always the way I think. So I'm gonna think of it as me being on the prelims. You know what I mean? And I will go in there and I will do my job and I'm gonna come out of there with that W.
Okay, Walt, thank you. Best luck on your fight and well wishes to you and your family.
Thank you.
All right, and lastly, we'll go to Alistair Bishop from MMA Republic in South Africa. Alistair, go ahead.
Your name's Alistair. I don't know if I want to talk to you, bro.
Why? Don't be like that.
Your name's Alistair, bro. I'm just kidding.
All the way from South Africa. How are you, sir?
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
Fantastic. Good. Condolences firstly to you and your family, man, and hopefully you've got a good night ahead of you to really stamp your authority back on the division.
Yes, sir.
So what I really want to ask you is, obviously we just saw Francis Ngannou put on a massive display. Obviously, being an African brother, that's who we're really watching back from South Africa. But I want to ask you, where do you think you fit into the picture here now with Curtis Blades, Francis Ngannou, and yourself if you get a win? Obviously not looking past Alistair Overeem. Just where do you see yourself in that picture?
I feel like I belong in conversation with all those guys. I feel like I'm one of the most talented heavyweights in the entire division. And I feel like, when I went over Alistair, it's going to thrust me right there in the middle of all of that. And I'm prepared to fight any one of those guys you name. I feel like, you know, it's my time to be in that conversation. I've worked hard. I've been through a lot in my career, ups and downs, battled adversity. So I think it's my time to shine, man, and show the world what I'm truly capable of. I'm hitting my prime right now, so I'm excited.
Fantastic. And looking up the division, watching a guy like Francis Ngannou put on a display like he did, what are your initial thoughts to that kind of a display?
Oh, it's impressive, man. I mean, I called it, you know, to be honest. I feel like Francis I trained with him. I mean, the dude's a monster, man. He's huge. And, you know, he's got a lot to prove himself. I mean, he was off for 19 months. So I kind of saw him coming into that fight very aggressive and looking to finish fast and prove a point. And he did exactly that, man. So big ups to Francis, man. I'm cool with his whole team. So, you know, that's just, it was awesome to watch, honestly.
Awesome. Looking at Alistair Overeem and the style of fight he's been adopting lately, as he's gotten on his career, you know, when fans watch heavyweights, obviously they want to see the big knockouts, and that doesn't always come. Do you feel pressure to really hunt for that knockout, to really say, okay, I'm here in this division and I'm the next title contender?
No, not really. Hunt for it. You know, I've learned throughout my career that hunting for it never comes. You kind of got to let it come to you. And I feel like I'm a guy that reads and reacts very well in the fight, and that's where my knockouts come from. So, you know, I'm just gonna go in there and be me and do me and let the knockout appear when I see it. I'm gonna take it for sure. I'm gonna try to finish the fight. That's what I do. But I'm definitely not. I don't feel any pressure or anything. I just need to go in there and get this done. You know what I mean, and make it look good, which I plan on doing.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for your time, and all the best.
Thank you.
All right. Well, that's it. You are all set. Thank you so much.
Thank you.